Hi, I'm Allie Michael, and this is my final research presentation on Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock was an amazing painter who used a very unique process which led to his later success. He used a process which he called the dripping technique in order to create the paintings that he did. Pollock was quite overrated with his paintings that resembled splatter paint. Pollock is a very well-known American painter and was very vital in the abstract expressionist movement. He was known for his technique of pouring and splashing liquid household paint onto a horizontal surface, which ultimately enabled him to view and paint his canvases from all angles. He was respected for his personal commitment to his artwork, which influenced many young artists. He was one of the first American artists to be recognized during his lifetime and after he died as a peer of the 20th century European masters of modern art. Jackson Pollock was the fifth youngest son and was raised in Iowa. At the age of 16, he enrolled at Manual Arts High School. There, he became heavily influenced by Frederick John, who promoted metaphysical and occult spirituality. Frederick John gave Pollock training in painting and drawing and introduced him in the advanced currents of European modern art. In 1922, Pollock followed his brother to New York City, where he then enrolled at the Art Students League to study life, drawing, painting, and composition. Pollock lived in poverty for the next few years until he got employed as an easel painter in 1935. This position gave him economic security during the remaining years of the Great Depression, as well as an opportunity to develop his art. From his years with Benton through 1938, Pollock's work was strongly influenced by the compositional methods and regionalist subject matter of his teacher and by the poetically expressionist vision of the American painter Albert Pinkham Ryder. Pollock suffered from alcoholism and began treatment in 1937. While in treatment, Pollock was influenced by his addiction and began to convert his struggle into a painting. Jackson began his process of pouring or dripping in 1947, which allowed him to record the force and scope of his physical gesture. During the late 40s, his work began moving into art galleries, as he was also involved in one-man shows of his new paintings each year in New York City. Pollock sadly died in a car accident on August 11, 1956, due to his alcohol addiction. After Pollock's death, artists active in the American art movements immediately following abstract expressionism. For these artists, he became the model of a painter who had successfully fused art and life. Pollock is now considered an iconic master of mid-century modernism. He has become all things to all interpreters in spite of the actual reality of his crazy life. The first piece of art I chose from Jackson Pollock was his most famous and most expensive piece of art, Number 5, 1948. It was done in 1948 and was sold for $140 million in November 2006. This painting is an example of Pollock's drip paintings and is considered an expressive theory. Pollock created this piece to express himself as an artist. He wanted to demonstrate the drip method that he had created and ended up working out in his favor later on. The second piece I chose from Pollock was The Deep, 1953, created in 1953. This piece is also one of his most famous paintings because it is not like his drip paintings. It is an important work of abstract expressionism. In this painting, he used a process like the drip method, but it was very unlike the rest of them. This one uses black and white paint but adds a touch of yellow to it to provide a break from the graystone contrast. This is also considered an expressive theory because it expresses Pollock's style of artwork that he came up with himself. Jackson Pollock used a very unique style of painting to create his artwork. He used a process he liked to call dripping. He would place and turn his easel and canvas in different ways in order to get the perfect drip, which later resulted in his famous painting style that was widely known. I think that Pollock's work was a bit overrated. Everyone seemed to hype up his work for more than what it was. I personally do not think his drip paintings were very special, especially not worth $140 million, which someone paid for one of his paintings, Number 5, 1948. Pollock's artwork could have been created by almost anyone of any age. It resembled artwork such as splatter paint done by a child. I do not like the colors that seem to appear over and over again in each of Pollock's paintings. He tended to use too many dull colors in no specific order that complemented the painting, which resulted in a messy appearance. Although I am not Jackson Pollock's biggest fan, he did influence many artists such as Helen Frankenthaler and Frank Stella, who later followed in his footsteps after Pollock's death. Jackson Pollock was an amazing painter who used a very unique process which led to his later success. He was overrated for such an easy painting process, but later sprouted from it and continues to influence many young artists looking to participate in the abstract expressionist movement. He created many interesting and famous paintings, two being Number 5, 1948, and The Deep, 1953. He used a process called the drip process, which he used to create all of his paintings. Pollock was heavily addicted to alcohol and later died because of it, but despite his death, his painting legacy and new drip method still continues to live on and influence artists of the new era.